All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Monday night teach and play, normally with Michael and Mandy. Once again, Mandy is not here this week. This time it's more of a recovery from Essen. I think she's still actually traveling today, coming back home, but it'd also be recovering even just from carrying all those games, I'm sure. So instead of Mandy, I have what was the disembodied voice for last week's teach and play of Hostage Negotiator. And for regulars in the chat, you may recognize the handle Ripped Punzel. This is Ripped Punzel in person, also known as Susan.
Pleased to meet you, Internet.
Yes. So yeah, this week we've got Fate of the Elder Gods. With it being Halloween tomorrow, we figured we'd go something a little more thematic and spooky. And this game does that. And not only does it do it, what I appreciate about this game is it is Cthulhu themed, and there are many games out there that are Cthulhu themed, and I enjoy most of them. I love Arkham Horror, the living card game. Elder Sign is another one. Mansions of Madness I love. This is a little different in that tonight we get to play as the cultists. So instead of playing as the investigators and trying to seal away the portals and preventing the Elder Ones from coming forth, we're actually trying to encourage that. We are trying to summon our own Elder Gods that we have chosen. So I like that it's a little twist. Now, having said that, if I make a mistake in saying that, you know, the investigators are cultists, or that the Elder Signs, if I start to think it's good, that's just because I am so ingrained with Elder Signs are good and investigators are good, but it's completely flipped in this game, and I do appreciate that. All right, so welcome to all the people that are in the chat. Let's see here. I think we're probably ready to just get going.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Susan's going to help me with chat as Mandy normally does. I will try and do my best to teach the game as best possible. I do have access to chat, which is still something relatively new to me, and I will try and watch that as well, but I'll be more focused on teaching and making sure I'm not misleading anybody that's watching. So, as I said, Fate of the Elder Gods, we will be trying to call forth our chosen Elder Gods. I'll start with some setup. The first thing you're going to do is picking the Elder God that you're trying to bring forth. And the way that you do this, there are a bunch of Elder God cards. So we've got a whole bunch of full art cards here showing all the different Elder Gods that you can choose. And what you do is you take those cards, shuffle them up, 2 to each player, and then you choose one of the 2. So we've already got our starting Elder Gods, and I'll show you who we're playing as. So Susan will be playing as Hastur, also known as the King in Yellow in a lot of games and in the books. And I will be trying to bring forth Yog-Sothoth. He's so pretty. So these cards have multiple purposes. So the first thing, like I said, is going to be dealing 2 to each player, and then you pick one and throw the other one away, or just put it back in the box. It's not a legacy game. You also use these to then randomize who's going to be going first. So let's start with that. Or shall I just go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first, since I am teaching. So we can put those aside. Once you've done that, you don't need those cards anymore. So I'll throw those aside. Once you've picked your Elder Gods that you wish to summon, you're then going to set up, this is the altar board, and the 6 locations on the perimeter that you can go to on the altar. You're also going to take your corresponding lodge. This one might be easier to show on the overhead, and I have the camera flipped, so I'm going to have it this way. So there's my lodge for Yog-Sothoth. You've got do this way. Can I do this way? I will try. So you've got the name of the Elder God up top. Below is a text box here that shows the Elder Gift for that specific Elder God. Dark Gift, I should say. The box down here is where you're going to have all of your cultists that are sitting in the lodge. And then this track that's on the other side is going to serve 2 purposes. It will be the summon track, where you're trying to summon your Elder God, going clockwise around the track. But it will also be where all of the investigators that are playing, and that's controlled by the game, they're going to be putting the Elder Signs trying to seal away the portal and prevent you from bringing forth your Elder God. So there's going to be 2 actions going around that board. And you're trying to get it done before the portal gets sealed.
I would just like to say a hello to Glenda, who actually made it onto the stream tonight for the first time. Welcome.
Hi, Glenda. All right. Okay, so that is your lodge. You've got the board. Then you also have your cultists. So this is a very colorful game. And the cultists, here's a close-up of the cultist. I will not be painting these, although they're okay detail-wise. They're decent miniatures. But they are all the same, and I already have hundreds, maybe even thousands of miniatures that are on the paint table waiting to be painted. So painting this many similar-looking miniatures is not going to happen. But what I might do is I am tempted to just put a shade on them to bring out some of the details. So the way you're setting this up is there's going to be 7 in the abyss. So this center area is the abyss. And that's where your cultists are going to be trying to sacrifice themselves into the abyss to bring forth your Elder God. And that's one of the ways that you can get points on your summon track. You're going to have 7 sitting in your lodge to start, and then you have 1 at each of the locations. So we have that already set up for each player. You're also going to set up investigators. So all the gray miniatures that you see out there are the investigators. So these are the ones that are trying to throw the elder signs onto our board and seal away the portal before we can get there.
And if you're familiar with Arkham Horror, the card games, this looks like she's channeling Jenny Barnes pretty hard.
Yes, it does very much look like her. Except she's only got 1 gun. That's the only
true.
difference. Yeah,
Jenny's
Jenny would have 2.
45s,
Yeah, Jenny
yes.
would have 2 guns going. Okay, so then after that you've got, around the outside of the board, spell cards. Now, spell cards are going to serve a couple purposes. I'm going to show a card from the bottom of the deck. The back of a spell card has one of 6 symbols on it. The front of a spell card has symbols across the top as well. Now, all of these symbols will correspond to the locations around the board. So to name the locations, we have Other Worlds is the purple one at the top, and there are specific names for the symbols themselves. It's much easier to refer to colors. They don't even mention the symbols named in the rule book, but I did find them and I wrote them down just so I can tell you what they are. The purple one is Nexus. We'll refer to that as purple. Then you have the Museum with the blue, which is Comet. The Ceremony, white, which is a solar eclipse. Streets of Arkham is yellow, which is the new star. The Gathering is green, which is aligned planets. That one I do know. And the Library is red, which is a blood moon. So when you're looking at the back, I'll show you the back of the spell card again. This is what you're going to be using for movement on the back of the cards. You'll be doing that by placing the card down wherever the fate piece is, and I'll get into how we work that afterwards, but basically you're putting that card down to move to whatever color you've played. So you'll want to know what's on the back of the card because that's what you use to move. It is also referenced on the front of the card. So that's what the green part is here. Now the other part on the spell cards are the actual abilities of the spells. So in this case there's a spell called The Stars Are Right. To ready this spell, I'll keep showing this, you need these elements at the top. I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and I'll describe how you ready those spells once we get into a situation that we can. I'm not going to do too much up front. A lot of this can be done as we play. But just to show a couple more, so as I said, these are how you're going to be moving. All the cards do have different backs. But like I said, you don't need to be looking at the backs. It's also referenced on the front. So those are red, white, and green. Red, white, and green. All right, so that's spell cards. They will get set at the library because the library's action has to do with taking spell cards. I won't go into detail of each location. I'll cover those when we go to them. But basically, placement of everything around the board has to do with the action of the location itself. So library gets the spell cards. Then moving around the board, we've got the artifact cards. So I'll show the bottom card of the artifact deck. So on the back, you've got Property of Miskatonic University. And on the front will be an artifact that will have either a one-time per turn use or a one-time use and discarded from the game. And it'll have symbols on here indicating that. I'll get into those as we start getting the cards. But these are cards you can pick up when you're at the museum. So they're placed close to that. And there's a way that these get cleared as well. Again, I'll cover that in a bit. Next up we have the ceremony, is where you can get the gate cards. And I called it the right name this time. That's fantastic. So a gate card looks like a spell card, but there's no spell on it. All that is a wild. It's a wild symbol. So when you play a gate card, you can move to any location. This does not count towards your hand size for spells. You always have a minimum hand size of 3 spells. That could be modified based on artifacts. This does not count towards that minimum, and you can only ever hold 1 gate card unless there is something that says otherwise. So there are artifacts that would actually increase how many you can hold.
Hello, Adam and Claudine.
Adam and Claudine, hello.
Yes. How delightful.
Oh, Adam and Claudine, awesome.
Yes.
Glad you could join us. All right. Okay, so then we've got curse cards. I'll cover next. These don't have a specific spot around the board. I'll show the bottom card again. So a curse card has that red waxed seal on the back, and then has a curse on the front that has a certain condition at the top, and then what happens if that condition is met. I'll just say right now that you don't get to see your own curse card. If you become cursed, another player controls when this triggers. They don't have a choice. Let me make that clear. They don't have a choice when it triggers, but they monitor to see. So if it might be when the cult has 6 spells in hand, then the curse triggers. So another player will be watching to see when that trigger happens, and then have you stop and have to resolve whatever the curse is.
It's really quite ominous and a way to mess with someone's head. You just keep on checking your curse card and make your partner sweat.
Yeah, exactly. And it will always be the player behind you. So in the case of a 2-player game, it's just we're going to be monitoring each other's. If you're playing a 4-player game, it would be the person to your right. So that's one of the things I do like about this game, is you are always engaged. Whether it's your turn or not, you're always engaged in something. Okay, so next we've got the fate pieces. So the fate piece, this is this big Cthulhu looking dude, which is kind of a cool miniature actually. This one I'd be tempted to paint, but is quite cool just as it is. The fate piece is what indicates the location that you are at, and starts at the other worlds, at the top of the board. However, in a 2-player game, we're actually using 2 fate pieces. So they make nice finger puppets too. So there's 2 fate pieces in the game. The only time you use the second one is if you're playing in a 2-player game. Otherwise, you only use the 1. What this does is it kind of closes down the board a bit, because they're both going to start at other worlds, but as people move, now you cannot move where there is another fate piece, and you cannot stay where you are. So that drops the number of locations you can move to on your turn. So it makes it a bit tighter for the 2-player game. And what we're going to do, because those are not, I don't think those are extremely clear on the overhead camera. So what we'll do for the overhead is we're actually going to lay those down, which should make it much more obvious which is the darker, which is the lighter. So I will be moving, we each have our own. I will be moving the dark fate piece, and Susan will be moving the light fate piece. Then we've got elder signs, which, like I was saying, is normally a good thing. You look forward to elder signs. Those are the bread and butter of any Cthulhu-based game. However, in this game, you do not want these. So like I was saying, the investigators are trying to place elder signs on your track. That shows up, okay? So these will start at 9 and count down. So 8, 7, so on and so forth. And if they get filled all the way to the top circle, then you immediately lose the game. Which means in a 2-player game, the other person obviously wins. If you were playing in a 4-player game, you would still immediately lose the game ends, and whoever has the fewest elder signs would win the game. And if there's a tie, then it would go to whoever has the most, whoever has advanced furthest on the summon track.
Have you played the solo variant yet?
I have not played the solo variant. Played it 2 a few times, and played it 4 as well a few times, but I have not done solo. So yes, going around the track, And the reason these are rings, as I was saying, you'll also be going clockwise around the track with your the summon track with your summon token, and if these ever meet, then you're going to get cursed. That's one of the ways to get cursed. So you'd have elder signs going counterclockwise around your board, your summon token going clockwise around the board, and as soon as they actually meet, the person to your right would take a curse card for you. That only ever happens once for the meeting of the elder sign and the summon token. It doesn't matter how many more elder signs you cross as you keep moving around. You only take that curse once. And then we also have our fate dice. So normally, again, elder sign, that would be great. This is the elder star, and then you've got 2 elder signs. The opposite sides of those are actually what you're looking for now. You're looking for tentacles and Cthulhu. So those are the 6 sides. The Cthulhu is the strongest for us, obviously, which means the strongest for the investigators is the opposite side, the elder star. And then, of course, the elder signs, which are those branches, the opposite side of that would be the tentacles. Now, that is relevant because there are ways that you can, either through a spell or through artifacts, you can flip to the other side. So you want to know, obviously, what is on the other side. And we've already determined I'm going to go first, so I think that is enough for setup. I've got cultists in my lodge. A quick sip. And I think we're ready to go.
All right.
Okay. So again, this is the only time that you would see 2 fate pieces on the same spot. It's only at the start of the game. From there, we're going to be moving around. And I'll describe the locations in more detail as we get to them. So the first part would be preparing. So if you did exhaust any of your artifacts, you would get to ready those again. First turn, obviously I don't have anything to prepare. Then you move. And I'm going to show you, they do have a couple player aids in here. So one of them does describe turn order. And it's basically 4 steps: prepare, move, activate, conclude. And you'll see that the game does move quite quickly because all it is just move to a location, do the action, next player. The backside of that gives you some keywords and what all the symbols actually mean, but I'll be telling you that, so you don't need to worry about that. And the other one gives you all the actions at the locations. So there are 3 locations, and they're covered 3 on one side, 3 on the other. And you'll see each location has the 3 dots with another ability underneath, and that is the control action. So there's a basic action and a control action, and I'll cover what that means as we're at the locations.
I think before we go any further, you should tell the audience what you're drinking.
Yes, what I'm drinking. So the beverage for this evening, again, for the people that do watch, they know I try and theme the drink to the game. I think this one is perfect. Harbinger. That looks exactly like the cultists that we're playing as. And that is an American Pale Ale, which is working quite well. Okay, so I'm up first. Let's see here. I think I'm going to try and get some options. So as I said, the minimum hand size, you always have a minimum of 3. There are ways to modify that. At the end of your turn, you will always draw back up to 3. And if you're already at 3, you'll always draw 1 card. So I could have 7 cards in my hand, you will always draw 1 more at the end of your turn. Obviously more cards is better because cards is how you move, and that's how you're going to prepare the spells as well. So I am going to get some more cards. I'm going to start by going to the library. So when you move, again, here's what I'm playing. The Blood Moon. So the red card, which takes me to the library. You place it at the location where the fate piece currently sits. So in this case, I would place it here, and then I would move the fate piece to the location that I'm going to. So it's always place it where you are, and then go to the location, not place it where you're trying to go. Once you've moved, you need to check a couple things. The first thing is, if there are 3 investigators there, and again, that's the That's the gray pieces. If there are 3, then they're going to come to your lodge because there's been too much activity there. They're onto you, and they're going to come into your lodge and eventually perform a raid. And that's the main method of getting Elder Signs, which in this game, again, is bad. You don't want Elder Signs, and it took me a while to wrap my head around that. So if there are 3 investigators, they move to your lodge. There is not. So the next step is then putting one of your cultists into your location and adding 1 investigator. And that's how the investigators start building up at locations. So one of the things I enjoy about this game is that it really encourages diversifying your actions. You can't just keep going to the strongest action, because if you do, the investigators are building up because of all the activity that's happening there, and they'll just keep raiding your lodge. So it encourages you to go to places that have not been used. So I've done that. Next thing is checking for control. So control of a location requires 2 things. 1, you need to have 3 cultists minimum. And 2, you need to have more cultists than any other player. So I've only got 2 cultists here. I do not have control. However, you always have the option of rolling for control, which gives you a 1 in 6 chance of getting temporary control of that location. So again, to get control, temporary control, you need the Cthulhu symbol. So you have a 1 in 6 chance of doing it. So I'll see if I get control. I do not. Tentacle. Then you do the actual action of the location that you move to. So in this case, the library, and they do have symbols around the board as well. As a quick reminder, it's showing 3 cards here on the board. That's visible. Excellent. That means you're taking 3 cards. That is the basic action, is you take 3 cards. So again, that's more spells that I can use, and it's more ways that I can move. After that, I can then also prep 1 additional spell. So at the end of your move, at the end of the activate, sorry, the conclude step of your turn is readying a spell. And the way you ready spells, just going to check and see if there's one I can ready, and there is not at the moment. But the way you ready spells is you're using the symbols at your current location. So in this case, I've got the red and the green. And as I was showing you before, each of the spells has the colored symbols at the top. Those are the requirements to ready a spell. So in the case of this spell, I need 2 blues and a green. Or in the case of this one, it's a little easier. I just need a red and a white. So if I do meet those requirements either at the location itself or in your already prepped spells, then I can prep another spell. Now when you prep a spell, it would sit at the top of your lodge. You can only have 3 spells prepped. They don't cast right away unless you wish. You can cast them right away. Otherwise, they sit there prepped until you're ready to cast it, and you can cast it at any point. It doesn't even have to be on your turn. You can interrupt another player by casting the spell. So I do not have what I require to prep these spells. If I did, the library would actually let me prep 2. Normally you're limited to only 1 spell. The library would let me prep 2. And if I had control, temporary or otherwise, I would even get to prep 1 of those spells for free, which means I do not need to meet any requirements. Now, no matter what, if you have prepped a spell at a location, then all cards at that location get wiped. So these will start to build up until somebody actually preps a spell, and this is called the astral column. Once somebody preps a spell at that location, whether they used those symbols or not, the astral column gets wiped and discarded. All right. And I will actually clarify one thing. When I said that the control action lets you prep 1 for free, I did see some confusion on BGG exactly what that meant, because the action is prep a spell. The action is prep an additional spell, and then the control action says prep a spell for free. That does not total 3 spells. It just means of those 2 spells you get to prep, 1 of them can be for free. All right, so that was me. I then draw a card, and again, I'm over that 3 spell minimum, and again, that is a minimum, not maximum. You will always draw at least 1 card at the end of your turn. If I only had 1 card left, I'll draw back up to 3. Then you would check your lodge to see if you have 5 or more investigators. And if you do, they would perform a raid. I do not yet. I'll explain what a raid is and how that works when we get to that point, because we will get to that point. It is inevitable. So that's me. Over to you.
Okay, for my first action, I am blocked at the library. Paulum has already gone there, so that is the location where I cannot go, and I also cannot stay where I am. So I am limited by the cards that I have in hand. But if I want to go to someplace I don't have a card for, I can play 2 cards of the same color and use that as a wild to go anywhere on the board. Or I could also take a gate.
A gate card.
A gate card. If I have a gate card in hand, that is also my ticket to anywhere on the board. But those can only be earned at the ceremony and possibly through spells.
I'll stop you there for 1 second.
Yes.
And as I said, when you do go to that location, you do get a gate card, but you can only have 1. You can't just collect them. But as Susan was saying, that is a wild for the sake of movement around the board. You could move anywhere. And also, it is the only way to move to the other worlds. Spells do not have that purple nexus symbol. That's only on the gate card. So the only way to get here is through the use of a gate card or using 2 cards, like Susan's got, 2 spells of the same symbol on the back.
So I would like to go to the gathering, but I do not have a green card in hand. So I'm going to spend 2 of my yellow cards to enable me to travel there.
Okay.
So my figure goes to the gathering. I do not have any artifacts to unexhaust at this point in time. There are not 3 or more investigators. So I am going to place 1 of my cult figures and 1 investigator in the spot on the gathering. And since I have 2, but that is not the 3 threshold that is required for control, I'm going to roll for temporary control, which I did not obtain. So now I'm going to use the activity of the gathering.
Yep. So the basic ability of the gathering, so I'll cover each location as we move to them. The gathering basics ability is to get 3 more cultists, because as you see, every time you move, you're going to be putting a cultist on the board. And if you do not have any cultists in your lodge when you move, you get to take 2 from the abyss, put 1 on your location, 1 in your lodge, but as a penalty, you have to take an elder sign. And again, elder signs are bad. You don't want those. So you do want to try and keep a supply of cultists in your lodge. And this is basically where the recruiting happens. You're getting more cultists onto your side. So you start by getting 3 of them from the abyss.
So I take 3 of these guys from the abyss and put them into my lodge. And then I may also move 1 of my cultists from the gathering to any other location. And I will activate that option, and I will move to other worlds.
All right.
This is now my opportunity to prepare a spell, and I do wish to do so.
Oh, nice. So when you prep a spell, you don't have to show anybody what the spell is, but you do need to prove that you meet the conditions. So in this case, Susan's basically saying that she's got yellow and green. Yeah, the overhead would probably be easier for you, or I can show it on the screen.
So there's my yellow and green.
Yeah, that
it's
shows
kind of
up.
hard to see.
Yep.
So that gets laid down there,
Yep.
and now I can cast that spell at any opportunity.
Now, that also adds to the symbols that Susan can use for prepping future spells. So sometimes, even if a spell is not useful to you immediately, it might be best to prepare one of those easier spells just to have more symbols to use. So let's say Susan did have the ability to prep a spell now, even though she can't because you're limited to 1. She would then be able to use green, yellow, or blue. The aligned planets, the new star, or the blue comet. Yes, all right.
Okay, so that having ready to spell, I cannot ready any more spells. The astral column is wiped since I have used it. And now I get to draw up to 3 cards, back up to 3 cards in hand.
Yep. So Susan actually used all of her cards there because she needed 2 to be able to move to a location that she chose that she didn't have the symbol for otherwise, and then prepped that last card in her hand. So that was a very efficient use of your cards, and then she gets 3 new ones. So you'll always get to draw back up to 3, or 5 depending on the artifacts that you get.
And that concludes my turn.
Okay. So I've got a few more options now. So you can see there's a few different things that you're considering. One is you're obviously trying to sacrifice your cultists so that you can get points on that summon track, because that's one of the win conditions. The main location you're going to be doing that is at the other worlds. Another thing to consider is setting yourself up for some of the stronger spells that are in your hand, because some of the spells that need 3 different symbols might be more difficult to prepare, but they're going to have greater effects. So you might be actually loading up a location with the exact combinations that you need to prep that spell. So it might not be I need to go to a location, it might be I need to play this card so that I can go back there on a later turn, and hopefully before any of your opponents do. Another thing to consider, especially in a 2-player game, is blocking the other person, because you each have your own fate piece. I could go to a location, if I know Susan could pull off a big move at the other worlds, then I might go there just to block her for a turn to give myself a bit more time. All right, having said all of that, I think I'm going to take a trip to the ceremony. So I'm playing a white card. No, I'm over here. So my feat piece goes over here. And for anybody that's joining a bit late, I will re-emphasize that we are only using 2 fate pieces because it's a 2-player game. If you're playing 3 or 4, you only use 1 fate piece. All right, the ceremony is where, first off, before I get into the ability, there are not 3 investigators, so I move a cultist and an investigator there. I do not have control. I'll see if I can get temporary control. Ooh, and I can. That's exciting. The basic ability at the ceremony is, first off, how you get gate cards. So again, it looks like a spell card. It has the purple Nexus symbol, but there's no spell on it. It is purely for movement as a wild card around the board. It does not count towards your minimum spell hand size. And once somebody uses this for movement, it then becomes, so say I had used that here to move, it is now a wild symbol as well for prepping spells. The other ability of the ceremony is then to trigger your Dark Gift. Now, I haven't covered those yet. I will read out my Dark Gift. Actually, we'll cover both.
Sure.
Key and gate. And I'll show this again, because the symbol on the board, it might be a little hard to see from there, but it looks almost like a crying eye. And that's the symbol there. And then the text box says what the Dark Gift is. And each one is unique to each Elder God, and quite strong. So, key and gate. Look at any one spell card from any location's astral column, and I can choose to ready that spell at no cost or discard it. So, one of the great ways to play this Elder God is lay down a card that is very difficult to get into play, has a difficult requirement. You lay that down, remember where it is, and then go pull off the Dark Gift so that you can just prep that one for free. The other benefit to this this ability is that spells readied with Yog-Sothoth's Dark Gift do not count toward my spell limit. So I'll show I'll show my lodge again, and you can see at the top it's a little faint. There's a 3, 2, and 1. Those are the 3 spots for prepped spells. So normally you're capped at 3. There is a way through an artifact to get a 4th slot, but through my Dark Gift for this Elder God, I can actually prep as many as I wish using that ability. I'm still capped at the manual prepping of spells of 3, but through that ability I just set them aside and I can just keep prepping those spells, which can be quite strong. So that is a strong ability. Over to Hastur.
Hastur's ability is called the Dance of the Outer Gods. Starting from the ceremony and proceeding clockwise, I may roll 1 die for each location on the altar where I have a cultist present. For each tentacle or Cthulhu, I get to place one of the cultists from my lodge on that location and move 1 investigator from that location to any other location on the board. So it gives me quite a bit of control over where I am, and I can really mess up a place by piling on a bunch of investigators and make it very unfriendly.
Exactly. So a big part of this game is trying to get your cultists from your lodge onto the board, right? Because that's what gives you control and allows you the stronger abilities at each location. So the ability, or the dark gift of Hastur, accelerates getting those cultists onto the board. Now that's something you want to be aware of when you're playing that Elder God, because you do not want to run out of cultists in your lodge. Like I said, you take a penalty if you don't have them. So that's why one of Susan's first moves, or her very first move, was grab more cultists. Just fill up her lodge so that when she can pull off her dark gift, she can try and get as many as possible. And I love the theme of this. It's called Dance of the Outer Gods because she's putting more in and then she's moving stuff around. Your left foot in, and yeah, exactly. I didn't want to go there with that, but yeah, we did. Okay. Anyway, so yes. So one point I'm going to bring up is a lot of games that have asymmetrical play or unique abilities. It might be when you make, when you're chopping wood, you get one more piece of wood or something like that. It'll be a minor thing, obviously still to your benefit to use it. I see these as practically game-breaking abilities. But the thing is, each person has their own game-breaking ability. So you need to be aware of not only yours, but other people's, and how best to make use of them. Don't let them sit there not being used, because that is your strength in this game. So I really like that it is a game-breaking ability, not just a minor tweak. Okay, so I get to look at any one spell card. So again, looking at the astral columns that are on the outside. And once I've looked at one, now I know what I played here. Frankly, it wasn't a very strong card, so I'm not going to bother grabbing that one. I'll grab a random one. Let's see here. Closest to me, what do we have? So I get to look at it, and then I can decide to either discard it or I can prep it for free. I'll prep it for free. So I'm putting that on my lodge because, again, that doesn't count towards my max for prep spells, which is at 3. And I did have control, so I will show this card again. So this is the player aid that describes all of them. And I am at the ceremony. So when you're looking at a location, so we've got the ceremony down here. Above those 3 dots would be the basic ability. Below those 3 dots would be the control ability. And I did roll for temporary control. I got the Cthulhu symbol. So the control ability here says I can sacrifice 2 cultists from the ceremony, which is that location, to advance 1 space on my summon track. And because the whole point of the game is to try and get to 9 on your summon track, why not? So 2 of my cultists sacrificed, and that's the theme behind it, right? You're trying to sacrifice all of your cultists. I get a point. That's over 10% of the way done. That is me for that. So now I can also ready a spell. Even though the ability for my dark gift was ready a spell for free, I still get to ready one as a regular action of my turn. And this is where I would then need to show that I meet the requirements. And I will. So I'm going to show Susan I have white and green are at the location. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just hiding it with the gate card that I have and showing white and green on meeting those conditions. I would then put that face down, and because the spell was prepped here, the astral column gets discarded.
Generally, Gregoris, you're limited to 3 prepped spells.
What was the question?
Are you limited to how many free prepped spells?
How many free? Yeah. The free prepped spells for my dark gift, I am not limited. But if an action such as the library says prep a spell for free, it still counts towards your 3 prepped spell maximum, or 4 if you have a certain artifact that lets you increase it by 1. This Elder God is the only way to actually get all of these prepped spells for free and not counting towards the limit. But 3 is normally your max. Okay, and then I draw. I do have the minimum 3, so I just draw 1 card. And then if there were, again, 5 investigators in my lodge, I would then have to perform a raid, but I'm good. Over to you.
All right, so I'm currently in the gathering, and I have 2 whites and a blue, and that is actually not where I want to go. So again, I'm going to burn 2 similar colored cards in order to get me a ticket to the library.
Now, looking at Susan's hand, She had 2 whites and a blue. I'm at the white location. I am at the ceremony. So without discarding 2 cards to move to a location of her choice, she was actually limited to 1 location. It would have to be the blue location. But with the ability to discard 2, that lets her move anywhere.
So we are still not at 3 investigators there, so I'm going to add a cultist and an investigator, which now puts the library in that danger zone. So we're going to be picking carefully whether or not we want to go there in the future.
So I'm going to stop you there for 1 second.
Yes.
So the order is very important, right? You check to see if you're at that 3 threshold first. Then you add afterwards. So now that it's at 3, it's the next person that goes there that will suffer the investigators coming to their lodge, but not during.
So I'm going to roll for temporary control, which I do not obtain.
Okay.
And I'm going to, the library's benefit is to draw 3 spell cards. 1, 2, 3. And I am going to prep a spell.
So we've got red, green, and white. You can hold that up a little higher. Yeah, there we go. That's visible like that.
Yes.
So red, green, and white. So looking at the location, red, green, and white. And remember, Susan did already have a prepped blue spell as well. So she could have also used that symbol when prepping that spell. And that location's ability also lets her prep 1 more spell if she wishes. She still needs to meet the requirements and can use the one that she just prepped as well.
And I can indeed prep another spell, so let me figure out which one is. I will prep this one with a green and a white.
Okay. Now, as soon as a spell is prepped, you can cast it. You do not need to wait until your next turn, or you can just cast it immediately and not even put it in one of those spots. Now, if you are already at the 3 spell limit, then you must cast the spell that you're prepping because you have no place to put it. So you can still prep a spell, but only if you cast it immediately. All right, so you've prepped spells, so these are gone?
Yes. And now I'm going to draw back up. I already had 2 cards in hand, so 1 more brings me to 3.
All right.
And
oh, here we go.
I think I will cast a spell right away.
Here we go.
So I'm going to cast the Witch's Curse.
Oh, no.
Choose a cult.
Not me.
I choose him.
Okay.
That cult becomes cursed. So just for the purpose of introducing you to the curse mechanism.
Sure, that's the only reason, right?
That's
the only reason you're going to curse me. All right. So you're going to find that this becomes a very chippy game. There is no playing nice in this game. It's war. This is, yeah. So what happens is I'm becoming cursed, but I don't get to actually see the curse card. So you know what? I don't know if it would be visible enough to read this. The print is pretty small. I can try the overhead camera. You let me know if I'm there, because I don't want to see the card.
Sure.
Let me know if that's visible. It might not be.
It's a little blurry.
Yeah. I was hoping that they could see the condition.
Yeah.
I'll try on this one, but I won't read it. Is that visible? You're going to be on a delay there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not quite,
It still looks a little blurry on that.
Okay. Yeah, the text on these cards is pretty small. I was hoping that I could let you see so you could play at home, but
maybe I'll type it in chat because Mike isn't really watching chat anyhow.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking every now and then, but yeah, that works. And I won't look
until it scrolls off.
Yeah. So she can do that once it's my turn. But basically, once you're cursed, you don't get to know what the curse is. Susan's going to monitor that curse. And once the trigger happens, and it could be anything, I don't even know what it is, then the curse triggers and needs to be resolved immediately. Now, she does not get to choose when to flip that. She must remember to flip it immediately. She can't know that that's the trigger, but decide to wait until a more punishing time. Like, for example, there's one curse that makes you discard all your cards. I remember the last time I played, I had 8 or 9 cards in my hand. I had built up a nice hand to actually use with all kinds of options. But the curse that I had forced me to discard all of them, and then I could only draw 3 back up. You can't wait until I'm 12 cards. It's as soon as that condition is met, you must reveal it and resolve it immediately. So it's always the player to your right now in a 2-player game. As I was saying, we're going to be monitoring each other's, but in a 3 or 4-player game, it will always be the player behind you that monitors your curse.
All right, so the audience at home now knows.
They know the
contents
trigger?
of this,
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you did that at, I was just starting my turn, right? So again,
Yes.
spells can be cast at any point, and that's obviously one of the ways to get cursed. So there are multiple ways that you can get cursed in this game. Now I'm scared. Okay, let's see here. I think what I'll do, I'm considering going to the museum. At this point, I'll describe the 2 artifacts that are up for grabs at the museum, because I want to see them myself anyway. So we have, there will always be 2 available. So we've got the silver key and the, I'm looking at this backwards, Chamber's Journal. So to read those out, the silver key has 2 abilities. The first one is an exhaust ability, so you get to use it once per turn. You can move 1 cultist from any one location to any other location where you have 1 or fewer cultists, which is a nice way to be able to move stuff around the board. And then it has a discard ability where you can move the fate piece to any other location. Now in a 2-player game, there are 2 fate pieces. You can actually choose which one to move. So Susan might move to other worlds and have the game in her hands. You know, it could potentially end there. I could pull the trigger on this, it's a one-time use, and move it somewhere else and get her off of that location. So that's the silver key. Then there's the Chamber's Journal. Has an exhaust ability. Choose any one location and roll a die. So there's randomness to this one. If it's Cthulhu or the Tentacles, then you add an investigator from your lodge to that location. So again, you don't want investigators in your lodge because that's what creates the elder signs, which in this game is bad. If it's an elder sign though, you actually add an investigator from your location to your lodge. So there's a chance you could remove them from your lodge, but there's a chance that one could be coming from your lodge. Obviously the best time to play this, actually there's always going to be an investigator at your location, unless you've played something else that removes them. But that's sort of the combinations that you can start building as well, right? If you have something that lets you move all of the investigators out of a location, you could then use this ability with no downside because there are not any investigators to move from that location to your lodge.
Gregorius had a comment about how it would be hard to track which curse cards go to which cult in a 3 or more player game.
No, you always track. It's the person behind you that always tracks your curse. So you will only ever track one person. So let's say there were 4 players at the table. I would only be controlling the curses for the person to my left. So that's the only one I need to watch in terms of looking at those cards. Now it can get tricky if there's 2 or 3 curses. It might be a little easier to forget that one of them triggers, but you'll only ever be monitoring one person, and each person at the table monitors one other person going around the table. Okay, so do I want to go there? Why not? So I'm going to go to the museum. So playing a blue card moves me here. There are not 3 investigators. See, and now that I'm cursed, she's going to keep checking that card just to make me nervous about what, whether I'm triggering it or not. Okay, so I have to add an investigator. I will add a cultist. I do not have control, so I'll try and get control temporarily. And I do not get it. So the ability at the museum is to obviously take one of those 2 artifacts, or you could take random off the top as well. The control ability actually lets you wipe the display first if you wish. So if I didn't like either of these, I could remove them, put 2 fresh ones out, and then I get to choose from the 2 new ones, or again from the top. I am going to go, actually, you know what? I will take the silver key. Yes, I will take the silver key. Now, artifacts. You're also capped at 3. You can only have 3 artifacts at a time. I'll move that there. Anytime somebody grabs an artifact, whether it is from the face-up ones or from the top of the deck, you wipe the rest that are face-up. So that goes away. 2 fresh ones come out. All right, I need to take another look at my spells to see what I have prepped here. Don't Oh, don't look at that. And okay. I will not be casting any spells. So then I can prep a spell if I can meet the requirements. I will not, so then I just draw a card, and that's the end of my turn. So the turns will start to go a little quicker now that the explanation's out of the way. There's still a couple other locations I need to cover, but turns will start to move a little faster.
Okay, so I am going to spend a white card in order to move my fate piece to the ceremony. And I'm going to place a cultist and an investigator, which also turns that into a bit of a hot spot. And roll for temporary control, which is the opposite. And now I shall do my Dance of the Outer Gods,
Here we go.
or as someone referred to it, the Elder Gods Square Dance.
Nice, I
But
like
this,
that.
This is going down, yeah.
I like that.
So I have to declare ahead of time. I start at the ceremony, and I have to be cognizant of the amount of cultists I have, because if I roll for each and spend all my cultists, I could find myself in a world of hurt. So I don't necessarily want to do every single location, altar location, but I will start with the ceremony itself.
So she does need to start at the ceremony. She announces each one that she's doing. If she was to say skip to the gathering, she can't then go back and say, okay, I'll do those. You start there and it's basically yes or no. If no, go on to the next one. Yes or no. And you keep doing that around the altar until you've yes or no to all 6.
So I need to hit a tentacle or a Cthulhu in order to place a cultist on this location. And I do not get it, so I'm going to skip the streets of Arkham, and I will roll again for the gathering, which is a null. Going to roll for the library, which is a tentacle. So I get to place a cultist, and then I get to move an investigator to any location of my choosing, not to his lodge, sadly.
It does need to be a location on the board, yes.
And I shall move an investigator to the streets of Arkham. I shall roll for the other worlds now.
Ooh, nice.
And that is a win. And move an investigator elsewhere.
Okay.
And I shall also roll for the museum, which is a pass.
All right.
I cannot prepare a spell at this location.
Also get a gate card.
I do. That's amazing. Woo! Gate card and drawing up to 3, and that is me.
I just saw, I'm not looking at your comment, I'm not sure where it is, but I see Ziggy Bobinator saying, come on, Mike,
dance.
Psychological tactics are what make it fun. Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely is what makes it fun, for sure, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, over to me, is it?
It is.
Well, so Susan did open up the library here. When she did place a cultist, she did have to actually move an investigator. That wasn't a choice. If you do succeed at that location, you get to bring a cultist in, but then you must move an investigator out, which did open this up as a safe place to go now, because now there's only the 2 investigators instead of 3. However, it is no longer a place that I could move to and get control, because before she only had 2 cultists there, and if I was to move there, I would have 3, she would have 2, so I would meet those 2 conditions to have control immediately, which is 3 or more cultists and more than any other cult. So I could go there safely. Do I wish to? And you did not prep any spells, correct?
I did not.
Okay. All right. So I'll show you how the silver key works. It does have the exhaust ability that I'm triggering. So I will exhaust this, and I get to move 1 cultist from any 1 location to any other location where I have 1 or less cultists. Now, the question is, So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a cultist from... I'm going to take a cultist from the museum and move it to the gathering. So I did have one or fewer cultists there. I'm moving that there, and then I will go to the gathering, and I will actually get control there without having to roll for it. So I have to play a green card. Moving to the gathering. There are not 3 investigators, so I will add an investigator, add a cultist. I now have control. I have 3. I have more than Susan has. The control ability at the gathering. Basically, each control option at the locations is going to be a stronger version. So the base version there, the base ability is gaining 3 cultists from your abyss, from the abyss, and then you can move one of those cultists at the gathering to any other location. The control ability is move any number of cultists from the gathering to any locations. So I get 3 cultists, which is good because I was down to 3 in my lodge, and you do not want your lodge running on empty. And then I get to move those anywhere I wish. And I will move all of them to the other worlds. You'll see why I'm doing that soon. So that was the silver key to get the cultist over there. Did the ability. I will then potentially ready a spell. So again, looking at that location, it is innately green. It has the aligned planets. There are 2 whites, and I do have a yellow prep spell, so those are the elements I can use to prep another spell. And I will. So I'm showing Susan that I have green and yellow, so there's the spell that I'm prepping. And actually, if you look away for a second, I think that might be visible. So I don't want to read that out, but hopefully that is visible enough, and someday I might have a better camera that it would be best, but hopefully you can see what that was. So that is prepped. So it's another spell that is at my disposal, but also another symbol that I can use for future prepping of spells. I will then draw a card. That is me.
Okay. I am going to play a blue astral symbol.
Thank you needs the one, saying that is visible enough to read.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good.
I don't think all of them will be, but those ones with less text, I think, would be visible. So I'll try and show as many as I can. Thank you.
And I'm going to go to the museum and pilfer through what the artifacts that are there.
All right. Would you like to read those out? Oh, that top one's nice.
Okay. Actually, I shall place a cultist and an investigator first.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a wizard's grimoire, which makes my minimum hand size 5. And this is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm taking, but I'll still tell you what the other one is. It's the Elder Mask. I may exhaust this card to during my turn place an additional investigator on my location, or I can throw the card away in order to not take an investigator from a location this turn.
So the Wizard's Grimoire, like I said, at the end of your turn, you always draw back up to the minimum hand size of 3. That now says Susan's minimum hand size is 5. So even if she somehow used all of her cards, at the end of her turn, she gets to draw 5 more. So that's a great card. And like I said, anytime a card is taken, whether it's from the top of the deck or from the display, remove all face-up cards, and 2 fresh ones come out. And you saw Ziggy Bobinator's redacted...
yes, yeah. That's mean. Although, I mean, everyone has information on everyone else at this point in time, so it's only fair.
Yeah.
So that was the museum, and I'm also going to prep a spell.
Okay. So we've got green, green, blue, blue, blue. Ooh, and 3
I've got
blues.
3 blues.
So there are some spells that require 3 of one color. Not easy to pull off to try and get 3 because you only have 1 innately at a location and you need to try and get 2 more. They're generally, I'd say, some of the strongest spells that are in the deck. So that scares me a little. But you did prep a spell, so these are discarded.
And now, since I have the Wizard's Grimoire in action, I draw back up to 5 cards in hand rather than just 3, which is amazing.
And you might see, it looks like Susan's holding 2 cards. You can kind of see that. But again, one of them is a gate card. That does not count towards the hand size. Okay, over to me. What's going on?
Ziggy Bobinator is asking if this is what it feels like to be deep-throated.
Absolutely, yes. All the secrets.
Yes.
And you get that reference now. Okay. All right, going to show you a new location. I am playing...
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I'm playing my gate card. And that is one of the 2 ways to get to the other worlds. Yes, I'm over here, so I will not play that there. And that's the tricky part with 2 players. Again, you only use the 2 elder pieces or fate pieces in a 2-player game. Normally there's only 1 on the board. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of where yours is in a 2-player game. So I'm playing the Nexus card, going to other worlds, and now I get to let you know how this one works. First of all, there are no investigators, so I don't have to worry about the 3. So 1 comes in from there. I have a cultist come in. I have immediate control of this location because I have 5 and I have more than Susan does. The basic ability at the other worlds is one of the main ways you're going to get points in this game. So it lets you sacrifice cultists to gain points on the summon track, but you're going to be rolling a die for each cultist that you have. And you're looking for anything Cthulhu related. So if you get Cthulhu or the 2 tentacles, then you get to sacrifice a cultist and gain a point. If you get the 2 elder signs or the elder star, then you do not. Then the cultist just stays there. That's the basic ability. The control ability says that if you roll that Cthulhu, not only do you get to take a point, you also get to get another cultist from the abyss back into your lodge. And as you're starting to see, that is part of the cycle. You need to keep getting cultists out so that you can keep sacrificing them and get points and eventually bring forth your elder god. So I have 5 cultists there. Let's see if I have any spells I want to pull off. No. No. How about here? No. I'm just going to go with this. All right. 5 dice, 5 cultists. Not bad. So I've got 2 elder signs, nothing. 2 tentacles, which means these guys get sacrificed and I get 2 points. And 1 Cthulhu. So he gets sacrificed, I get a point, and I get him back in my lodge. So I'm almost halfway there.
He's smoking me already. Not good. Not good.
Just wait for it. It is far from over. So again, there's 2 ways to win this. Keep that in mind. There's 2 ways to win. One is advance all the way to 9 on the summon track, and it is 9. I'm going to point out. So if you look at the summon track again, it starts with the elder sign here, and goes 1 through 9. You just need to get to 9 to win. To lose, it's if everything gets filled with elder signs. So that's going to be going counterclockwise around the board with the elder signs, and it's not at 1 that it stops. You need all 10 spots filled to lose the game. So 9 to win, 10 to lose. So that is the other way for you to win the game, is fill the other person's counter or track with elder signs and seal away their portal. Okay, I'll put that there, put these here. I did get points, so I got, so it was 4?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and then I could prep a spell. So again, the purple or the Nexus symbol is wild for movement and for spell preparation. So in this case, I have... Oh. Yes? Do we need to do something?
Yes, actually,
okay.
Thank you very much to the audience. You're far more observant than I am. I had thought that it was 2, but you're absolutely right. It was just 1.
Okay. Before you do that,
yes.
then. So I will say, it can be easy to lose track of something like that. but even more so when we're doing these live plays, because we're so focused on trying to teach and make sure we're passing on correct information. So it's easy to lose that. Thank you for reminding her, even though that's cursing me. But thank you.
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
Kenneth, you're the boss.
What do we got?
All right.
What have I done?
When the cursed cult rolls one or more Cthulhu in a single roll.
And I did.
You just did.
I did roll one.
Your celebrations have raised the attention of the investigators. Place one investigator on your lodge for each Cthulhu you rolled. So it wasn't bad.
Okay,
it could have been
so
worse.
yeah, that is a situation where I actually wanted to roll as many Cthulhus as possible because I was going to get cultists back out of the abyss. But I'm glad I only rolled the one because that only gets me one investigator.
Yes.
So that's not too bad.
This curse goes away.
Yes. All right, so we don't have any curses active at the moment. I actually started to forget I was even cursed. I wasn't worried. I was carefree. I was a carefree cultist. Not for long. All right. Not want to hear, oh, as you're reading the chat.
Yes, I had thought it was 2.
Yep.
So I was very happy to be corrected. Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of prepping a spell at the end of my turn, I have red, red, yellow, yellow, white, and a wild. And there's only one that I can prep here. So I will show it with this. So I've got red and wild to fulfill the red and blue. And that may be legible. Let's see. I'll hold that for a second. Hopefully you can see that. I know it's a little fuzzy. Working with a laptop camera for that close-up one. All right, that is my third prep spell. And then I will draw one card. That is me.
All right.
I also, speaking of forgetting things, I should have refreshed this at the start of my turn. You can exhaust these at any point. You don't have to use them on your turn. You can exhaust those at any point to use them, but they only refresh at the start of your turn. So that should have refreshed at the start of my turn. Sorry.
It is the start of my turn now, but since my artifact is innate, I don't have to use it, so I don't have to refresh it.
Just an ongoing ability.
Yes. I'm going to play an astral symbol to move to the dirty, bloody streets of Arkham.
Here we go.
Here we go.
So this is this the last location I need to describe in full? I believe so.
It is, yes.
So the streets of Arkham is how you get investigators into other cults' lodges. So this is a screw with other people kind of thing. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, they do give descriptions of each of the locations, which just for flavor, I will read them as we're going along. So the streets of Arkham. Intrepid investigators explore the streets of Arkham to unravel the horrors and mysteries of the mythos. This location enables the cults to mislead and manipulate the investigators into pursuing other cults, keeping the focus off their cult's own dark works. So this is where you're trying to mislead those investigators and throw them into other cults.
So my beginning of turn action to place a cultist and an investigator, rolling for control, which I do not receive. And now I'm going to place 2 investigators from my lodge. Sadly, I don't have any. This would be a wonderful opportunity to clean them out of my lodge. Or I can use supply to any other lodge. I think I'll choose him.
Pick it. Okay.
And now I get to initiate a raid on his lodge.
And this is done immediately. So when you're taking this action, one of the benefits is you can take those investigators directly from your lodge. You can mislead them and push them to another lodge. Say, well, look at what they're doing over there. If you only have one, you can still take the 1 and 1 from the supply. It says take 2 from your lodge or supply. It is and or. You can actually use both. And the raid is done immediately. So normally a raid only happens on a lodge when there are 5 or more investigators in that lodge. But with this action, once you put investigators in there, it's immediate. The raid happens right away. So let's see here. Is there anything I wish to do?
He's looking up his wizard sleeves for the appropriate spell.
Let's see here. Okay, there's really nothing helpful there. So the way a raid works is you have to roll a die for every investigator that is sitting in your lodge. And there are going to be 3 possible outcomes. If it's Cthulhu or Tentacle, then your cultists dispatch them immediately. No worries. If it is an Elder Sign, then the investigator has done their job. They've left an Elder Sign, which is part way of sealing the portal, and then they leave. If it's an Elder Star, then not only do they give you an Elder Sign, but they know there's more work to be done, and they stick around. So that's the worst case scenario, is you take an Elder Sign and they're still there for future raids. Huh. All right, well, there is a Cthulhu, and that is it. So only one is immediately dispatched. There's an Elder Sign, so I will be taking an Elder Sign for that, and there's an Elder Star, which means I actually have to take 2 Elder Signs, and one of them is actually sticking around. Not good. Thanks. So that was from the action at the Streets of Arkham. Susan continues on with her turn.
I'm going to ready a spell at this point in time, and since I do not have room, I've prepared my maximum of 3. I'm going to cast it from hand.
Okay.
So I won't bother covering up the colors.
Yep.
There's a yellow, green, and
all
blue.
kinds of blue. Okay.
So I am going to coerce the innocent. I'm going to move up to 2 investigators from any one location or lodge to any lodge.
So you'll take them out of my lodge now?
Absolutely.
As an apology?
As
for
a peace offering.
All right, so she gets to take 2 investigators and throw them into my lodge and start stacking it up. Now, ideally, if she already had a spell like that prepped, she could have cast it before she did the action on that and load up even more before that raid. But because the prepping a spell action is after the location action, she didn't have that choice.
Believe you me, I was trying to think if there was a way to make that happen, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So that is
No
the
doubt.
end of my turn, except for drawing back up to the 5 cards.
Nice. And then get rid of the green.
Yes.
So again, anytime a spell is prepped at a location, whether that symbol was used or not, all cards in the astral column get discarded. Okay. Well, and here's the tricky part. So Susan is not on the summon track yet. She has not scored a point. I've got 4. However, she also doesn't have an Elder Sign. She's actually been pushing Elder Signs onto mine. So that's where there's the 2 conditions to win and or lose. If you see somebody's rushing ahead on the summon track and you don't think you can catch them, then you can try and start pushing Elder Signs onto their track and make them lose instead of trying to win. Let's see. I prepped a spell here on my turn, did I not? I did. These should be gone. I prepped that last one. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, easy to lose track of these when we're doing these teaching plays, but you're keeping us honest so far. All right, I did catch that one. Where do I wish to go? Oh, I do not like it. I would love to go to the ceremony and trigger my dark gift again, but there are 4 investigators there, and I still have 3 in my lodge, so that would trigger a raid at the end of my turn of 7 investigators. And with you pushing Elder Signs on my track, I don't want to be helping you with that. So I think what I'll do, I'd like to get some more cards in my hand. So I'm going to go to the library. There are only 2 investigators there, so I will place 1 and place a cultist. I do not have control, even though I have 3, but Susan also has 3, so I don't have immediate control. I'll see if I get temporary control. Nope. So the action at the library, I get 3 cards, and I can prep 2 this turn. I do have the maximum of 3 already. I think I'm going to cast a spell first. cast a spell first. I'm going to cast Corruption. Either sacrifice 2 cultists from your lodge or become cursed. Then you may advance 1 on the summon track or destroy 2 elder signs from your lodge. So I will sacrifice 2 cultists instead of becoming cursed, because you've seen how scary those can be. And I will remove 2 elder signs.
Nice.
From my track.
Well, I mean, good for you.
So sincere. All right, and then let's see here. Can I prep a spell? I have red, green, white, white. I cannot actually prep any spells out of all these cards. That is unfortunate. I have the ability to prep 2, and I can't even prep 1. Okay. So I will just draw a card, and that is the end of my turn.
All right. I am over here in the streets of Arkham with Mike's blood on the pavement. And I'm going to play Ye Old Gate card.
Okay.
To move to the other worlds, where I shall add a cultist and an investigator. Now, I have 4 cultists, so I have clear control. I don't have to roll for temporary control at this point in time. So I get to roll 1 die for each cultist I have at the other worlds, and I'm looking for tentacles and Cthulhus. The more the merrier here.
1. Not merry at all.
I'm going to cast Alter Fate. It's a spell that allows me to either re-roll up to 3 of my dice once or 1 of my dice 3 times.
Very good.
I'm going to go for bulk. So I'm going to keep that 1 tentacle and re-roll these 3.
Good time to do it.
Oh, baby.
Boy. Okay. So the end result here is 2 tentacles, 2 Cthulhus, and she has control at this location, which means all 4 of those cultists get sacrificed. You get 4 points. And because she has control, with the 2 Cthulhus that she rolled, she gets 2 of those back from the abyss into her lodge. Oh, that was a successful sacrifice, if there ever was one. Yes.
Yes.
Well done. Yes. Yes, Ziggy Bobinator, a reroll. Absolutely. That was a timely reroll for sure.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Having control at that location and to be able to pull that off. That's excellent.
And I'm going to prepare a spell since I've spent 1 now. So I have a yellow, which is the wild, and a red.
Yep. Very good.
And drawing back up to 5.
So I will discard the astral column.
Yes.
All right. What have you done? And just like that, it's all tied up. Ooh.
More blood. Thanks, Glenda.
Yeah, this is definitely a Halloween-themed game for sure. Okay. I think I will. Oh no. So here's the situation. So as I said, this game kind of encourages diversifying your actions because the investigators start building up and you want to try and avoid those if you can. I'm at a point now where it does not matter where I go. The only safe spot is where Susan's currently sitting and I cannot go there. So no matter where I go, I will be taking an investigator. Is there anything I can do about that? No, sir. I don't like it. What do I have here? No. How about these? Okay, I'm going to trigger my silver key first. So the silver key lets me move one cultist from one location to another location that I only have one or fewer, 1 or 0 cult members. So I'm going to move this guy from the museum over here. And it's time for some retribution. Taking it to the streets, yo. So I will play a yellow card to go here. There are 3 investigators, so I do have to take all 3, which means there will be a raid on my lodge at the end of my turn. And the timing is important because sometimes during your turn, you may find ways that you can remove some of those investigators, or even spells that could do it as well. So then I do add another investigator, add another cultist. I have clear control in that location. The ability on that location lets me move 2 investigators from either my lodge or from the supply to another cult member's lodge.
I'm sure you want from the supply.
No, look at me. I have 6 investigators in my lodge. Like I said, that would trigger a raid at the end of my turn. I'm going to take 2 from here, send them over to your lodge.
Party.
Now I'm down to 4, so I won't have to worry about a raid yet. It will eventually happen, but I'm safe for now.
All right. I'm going to cast a spell at this point in time. I'm going to cast El Hazred's Vengeance.
Yeah.
You can only cast it if you can pronounce it, right? Reveal when another cult takes an action that places at least 1 investigator on your lodge.
Yep.
That cult becomes cursed.
Here we go. Cursed again. Okay. So we'll trigger that before I carry on with the location. Because if the trigger is already met on that curse, it resolves immediately. Where are you looking?
It is not yet met.
All right. And do you want to type that in for
I'll get
the people at home?
I'll let you know in a minute.
Yeah, the people can watch for
Yes.
you again. Okay. Okay, so the trigger is not met yet.
No.
So to continue on, the control action at the Streets of Arkham is I can, if I wish, sacrifice a cultist and add 1 more. Yeah, on every other lodge. Now, in a 2-player game, that's not as strong of an ability. If we were in a 4-player game, I sacrifice 1 cultist, and that'll be an extra investigator into each lodge. So the question is, do I want to trigger that? Do I want to sacrifice 1 of my cultists for 1 investigator? I don't think I do. I'm going to leave them there. I'm fine with that. So prepping a spell, I do have a wild I can use. I have wild, yellow, white, and green.
But we should immediately do the raid, should we not?
Oh yes, the raid on yours.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes. So when you go to the Streets of Arkham, like it was done with Susan on my lodge, you're adding investigators, but then you trigger a raid on all other lodges. So again, let's say this is a 4-player game, and I take 2 and I put them in Susan's lodge. You still trigger raids on all other lodges, whether you put investigators in their lodge or not. So if player 3 already had 2 investigators in his or her lodge, then they would also have to perform a raid. Not yourself though, just all other lodges. So thank you for reminding me. Nice.
And I successfully banished both investigators.
Yeah, well done.
Without taking any elder signs.
Well done. Now, one thing I'll mention at this point, we were getting pretty close to running out of investigators. It doesn't happen too often in a 2-player game. I don't even know if we've ever done that. Maybe once in a 2-player game, because I seem to remember looking it up. Maybe that was just out of my own curiosity. In a 4-player game, we actually had it happen a few times. So you do want to watch how many investigators are in the supply. Because if you run out of investigators and you need to place one at a location when you move to a new location, you stop. Each lodge performs a raid, and then that will obviously bring more investigators into the pool, and then you would add 1 to your location. So you want to watch that if you're starting to build up investigators and the pool is running out. You'll want to get rid of those sooner than later, just in case that triggers the raid. Okay, so yes, prepping a spell. I will. And I'm going to cast it immediately. So I'm prepping that. Red, white, and yellow.
Yes.
So I have the white and the yellow, using the wild for the red. I guess I didn't need to hide it because I'm casting it immediately. And this is one that Susan had used on me before. And again, it would have been nice to use this before I triggered that ability, but you can only prep a spell after. Coerce the Innocent. Move up to 2 investigators from any one location or lodge to any lodges. So again, 2 more of those out. So I had 6 in my lodge during my turn. I'm now down to 2 at the end of my turn. No worries about a raid. That is gone, and I did prep that. So this is gone. Yes. And that is me. I will draw a card, and that's the end of my turn. Whew. Dodge that bullet.
All right.
But I am cursed. Oh no.
And now I'm in the same situation that Pa was, in that there's no safe place. Wherever I go, I'm going to be taking heat.
And she's already got 2
Yes.
in her lodge now.
Yes.
So that's why I did want to trigger that now, so that she's stuck having to take the 5 or more depending on where she goes. I'll get ready for some flavor text on your next location.
All right. Alrighty. I am going to pay 2 cards.
Okay. So using 2 red to go to any location of her choosing.
I'm going to go to the gathering.
Okay. And that's one of the other benefits of having that Wizard's Grimoire artifact. Because you always get to draw back up to 5 at the end of your turn, movement is made much easier.
Yes.
Because you should either have the card you need or 2 cards that you can use to go anywhere you wish. So you're going to the gathering. So again, that's where you collect cultists. You good?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So the gathering represents the various meetings the cult performs, including recruiting and initiating new members into the secrets of their lodge.
All right, so I'm going to gather all the investigators.
Yeah, you are.
And have a big party in my lodge.
Disco Lodge.
Disco Lodge.
Hosted by Disco Sue.
Yes. And now I'm going to take a cultist and investigator and place them back into that altar location.
Yep.
And roll for temporary control, which I did not obtain. So I'm going to gain 3 cultists into my lodge. And I may move 1 from the gathering to another location.
Nicely played.
Is it?
I'm running, so especially
right.
in a 2-player
Right.
game, it can get quite chippy in terms of not just the actions against each other, but ways that you can block the other player, because there are the 2 fate pieces out there. I need to get to the gathering soon, as quickly as possible, because I am down to 2 cultists in my lodge. And again, if you run out, you're going to be taking an Elder Sign as a penalty. So she's blocked me for at least 1 turn.
And I'm going to prepare. No, I'll just cast this.
Okay. So what do we have? Oh no, 3 green.
3 greens.
Okay.
So 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
This is an Ancient Stirring. I may advance 1 on the summon track. And I may sacrifice 1 of my cultists at the current altar location to advance 1 more on the
Nice.
summon track.
Very nice.
So that spell is cast, prepared and cast all at the same time, and drawing back up to 5. And now I must pay the piper.
That's right.
Because I
Raid!
do have, yes, I
Raid!
do have 5. That was a glorious turn. I got far, but now I have to roll 5 dice. I don't think I'll be as lucky as I was last time.
Not great,
Okay, so not bad,
but not great.
but I'm going to cast another Alter Fate, where I may re-roll up to 3 dice once.
You have another one of those?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man.
Or 1 dice up to 3 times. So I'm going to roll all 3 of these again.
Sure. Now, may I see that
Yes.
card? Is that one? Okay. So I'm going to let you in on a bit of a strategy tip here. So this one, Alter Fate, does specifically say re-roll up to 3 of your dice once or 1 die 3 times, but it does specify your. There are some cards that would actually let you flip to the other side or change it to a face you wish, but it doesn't specify your dice. It just says any rolled die. So if I had a card like that, I could change a beneficial roll for Susan into something else, even though I did not roll it. So this one does specify yours, but there are some that actually lets you modify just, it says a rolled die. Most people just think that's whenever you're rolling, but it can be when somebody else rolls.
I don't know if that was probably a net result of...
It's 1 fewer elder.
Yeah.
So in this case, before Susan had 3 elder signs, which would mean she would take 3 elder signs, but everybody leaves the lodge. Now she's down to 2 elder signs, but one of them is the elder star, which means the investigator actually stays. So 2 signs, but one investigator stays. Okay. So that's you?
That is me.
All right. Well, I think it is time. Oh boy. Okay, before I move, I'm going to use Mind Switch. Swap one of your cultists from any one location with any other cultist at a different location. So I'm going to take a cultist from the streets of Arkham and swap it with one of Susan's cultists at the other worlds. And then I'm going to move to the other worlds. I do not have one of the purple Nexus cards, so I do need to play 2 cards of the same sign. I will play these 2 reds over here. Oh, thank you. To move to the other worlds. There are only 2 investigators, so I will add 1 and add a cultist. So I've got 4.
And I'm going to stop you right
oh,
there.
Oh no! Oh no!
I caught him this time. So, when the cursed cult has at least 4 cultists at a location.
And I just worked to do that too.
I know.
Okay,
I
here
know.
we go.
Your cultists grow restless, awaiting your orders. Sacrifice 2 cultists in that location.
Oh, that is painful. Okay, hold on. I should have refreshed that. Can I do anything about this? No, I cannot. I have to sacrifice 2?
Yes.
Oh, that is so painful. Because again, that is the main source of getting points, is from the other worlds. Okay. Well, nothing I can do about that. So, I no longer have control. So I have to roll for control. Oh, that is punishing. No control. So I only get to roll 2 dice to try and sacrifice these guys. One of them is gone. I get 1 point to tie it. No, I'm still a point behind. Oh, you were getting so close. Okay. Curse you. So prepping a spell, I will. So I've got red, red, green, which I have 2 reds at the location plus the Nexus symbol, which is wild. So that is prepped. I'll see if that may or may not be legible. The title definitely is. The rest may be. And when you're looking at symbols, just so you know what you're looking at there, the circles are investigators and the triangles are the cultists. So that is prepped. That could come in handy. I will draw back up, and I am done.
I'm going to play a yellow fate symbol and visit the streets of Arkham again.
Oh no.
There is
Stop
only
it.
one investigator,
Yep.
so I'm going to add a cultist and an investigator. I have clear control. So I'm going to give Mike 2 investigators, and they can be from supply or my lodge. So
Yeah.
I will take one from my lodge
Yeah.
and one from supply
Okay.
and gift them to him,
A golly, thanks.
which triggers triggers a raid.
It does. So this raid would be instantaneous because of the ability. I am going to cast a spell. I'm glad I just prepped this. So Confound. Move all investigators from one location to an adjacent location. And again, locations are only on the actual altar board. The lodge is not considered a location. Or destroy all investigators in your lodge. Goodbye.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm not rolling dice for that. So now I will perform the raid with 0 dice. I'm good. Carry on. So you do have control.
I do.
So you could sacrifice a cult member
Yes.
to add one more to my lodge if you wish.
And I do not wish to do that.
Okay.
And I can't cast a spell, so or prep a spell.
Ziggy Bobinator. She gives such nice gifts. No.
And draw
Outside
it
the
back
game.
up to 5.
Yes.
And that's you.
That's you? That's yes. Well, I only have 1 cult member left. I have no choice. I must get to the gathering. Before I do that, though, I did prep a spell here. So I'm going to get rid of those. Did you prep a spell at yours?
I did not.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move to the gathering, playing the aligned planets or peas in a pod. Only 1 investigator, so I will add an investigator. Add my last cultist. I'll roll for control. Not get it. Action is I get 3 cultists into my lodge, so that gets me a bit of breathing room, and then I can move that 1 cultist to any other location I wish. And I wish there. I will then see if I can prep a spell. White, yellow, green. I cannot. I'll draw a card. That's me.
Okie dokie. Oh, that's
Thank you,
nasty.
Gregorius. Yes, I did catch that. He was just reminding me that I needed to remove the spell cards.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to slip that up, but I caught that just in time. But thank you for watching that. We trust the chat to keep us on our toes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I don't like the looks of any of these locations.
Yeah, no matter what, that's all taking investigators.
How did I get so few people on the other worlds? What have you been doing over there?
It's because you rolled 4 perfect rolls to actually get the 5. You've got 6 points now. That's why.
Okay.
They were good cultists and sacrificed themselves. That was a lot of Kool-Aid being drank there.
Okay. Well, I feel it's time to hold a little ceremony.
Nice.
So investigators be damned.
We have not been using our dark gifts to their full potential because we started doing that early, and that loaded up with 4 investigators. And the reason there was 4, normally it would clear at 3 when somebody goes there, but with Susan's dark gift ability, she was actually adding more after the fact. So we've been avoiding the dark gift, or the ceremonial location to use our dark gift. But she's about to clear that, which means it'll also be open for me.
All right. So
But somebody has to at some point.
party in the lodge.
Yep.
Reseated.
Okay.
Clearly, I have control.
You have control.
So, for my dark gift, I am going to roll not for the ceremony. I already have control there.
So just as a reminder, her dark gift is getting to roll at each location. If she chooses, she may or may not, and adding a cultist and then moving an investigator.
AKA Square Dance of the Elder Gods.
Exactly.
It shall be known as that henceforth.
Yes, thank you.
So I am going to begin, I'm going to decline the ceremony and the streets, but I shall roll for the gathering.
Okay.
Which is a hit.
Nice. Now, the reason she's also going to skip some is she was down to 4 cultists when she started rolling. She doesn't want to run out because, again, you take a penalty if you actually run out and have to place a cultist.
I'm not going to roll for the library, but I shall roll for other worlds.
Okay.
Ugh, and the one that I really wanted, I don't get.
Oh,
I know, right? So that is the end of my rolling. I'm not going to roll for the museum, but I will take a gate card. And I can sacrifice 2 cultists from the ceremony to advance 1 space on my summon track because I do have...
That's the control ability.
Yeah, I do have control. And you know what? I'm a gunna.
That puts you at 7, eh? Wow, yes. Okay. However, you're very close to getting cursed. If I can get 1 more elder sign to stick on her lodge, on her track there, that would then have that overlap situation that I was mentioning at the start of the stream, where as soon as your summon track and the elder sign track meet, you become cursed. That's the curse of the elder sign. Only once per game. It doesn't matter if they get separated at some point, either through removing elder signs or going backwards on the track. You only get that curse once when they meet the first time.
And exactly so, Tim, on the first expansion, which is the squares of the Elder Gods.
Exactly, yeah.
So I've drawn back up to 5, and that is the end of my turn.
Okay. Well then. Yeah, not many safe places to go. Susan has made the ceremony a safe spot, but she is currently sitting there, so I cannot go there. I would have control at the other worlds, but I would also be taking 3 investigators if I did so. Well, like I said, getting 1 more elder sign to stick over there would get a curse placed upon ye. So I am going to go to the streets of Arkham, taking it to the streets. Go in here. I do not have control. There are only 2 investigators, so a 3rd one comes over. Cultist comes over. I will roll for control. Oh, and get it. Okay, I've got temporary control at that location. So I get to put 2, oh nice. I get to put 2 investigators into Susan's lodge. I can take them from mine, however I do not have any, so I will give you these 2.
Gulp.
Which actually gives her a total of 6. Now again, with the Streets of Arkham, she would be performing a raid immediately anyway, but even better now that she has 6. Let's see what I have to play with here. All right. Raid!
All right, before we raid, I'm going to cast this spell. It's called Broken Seal. I may destroy any 1 elder sign. Ding! Okay. And I may sacrifice 1 cultist at the current altar location to destroy 1 more.
Oh no. So she's reversed that elder sign track, so now she's got some more breathing room.
Yes.
I'm hoping that you roll, now you need to roll 3 for those to overlap, the elder sign track and the summon track.
But I'm also out of spells, so I've got nothing to fall back on now. It's all the dice. Jesus. Okay, so
only 2.
I have an elder star and an elder sign, so I gain 2 symbols and I lose all but 1 of the cultists, which is kind of amazing.
So that was a very well timed spell because 2, it would have been overlapping, and because she removed 2, that just put the 2 back. She's still got some breathing room there.
So I'm not cursed yet.
Yet.
Okay,
well, I do have control because I did roll control at that location, which I believe lets me sacrifice a cultist to then give you 1 more investigator. You know what? I'm going to do that. It doesn't have any effect now, but I think I need to start pushing to get some elder signs on her track because she's beating me to the top there with the summoning track. So I'm going to try and push for elder signs. Prepping a spell, I have red, white, yellow to to work with. I cannot prep anything. I will draw a card, and that's my turn. Nicely timed spell. I think Haster, aka the King in Yellow, was happy with that.
Yes, yes indeed. Okay, I am going to play, where am I? I'm over there. 2 whites to buy me a ticket over to the gathering.
All right, getting some more peeps.
Getting some more peeps. Rolling for temporary control, not getting it, but I'm going to take 3 of my cultists into my lodge, and now I may move 1 somewhere else on the board. I can prepare a spell, so I will prepare
yellow-green.
Yellow-green.
Yep.
And drawing 3 cards to be back up to 5.
All right. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. So the ceremony has opened up.
Thank you.
Ah, yes.
I was reminded to remove the cards.
Definitely. Thank you.
We knew we'd be forgetting that constantly. We forget it in real life too. So.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you how I'm doing this. So it doesn't matter if you see this, you're going to see it eventually anyway.
Yes.
So the ceremony is open. My dark gift, as a reminder, lets me look at any of the spell cards that are in the astral columns and then choose to prep it for free or discard it. So I'm going to play, this is a spell I want in my hand, but it's difficult to prep. So you can see there's 3 requirements there, blue, green, and yellow. It'll be hard to get that combination without the astral columns being wiped. And the spell is Enlighten the Faithful. So I'll describe what that is, but the way I'm going to get this into my hand is I'm going to use that for movement. So I'll play that here to move to the ceremony. Don't mix those up because I need
that
one.
Right?
I need that one. So I placed an investigator, I place a cultist, and then first I'll try and get control. Oh, and I got control. Interesting. Which doesn't do me any good there because I'd have to sacrifice 2. Okay, and that's fine. I'm going to use the silver key. So before I carry on, I'm going to use the silver key because you can use abilities or artifacts at any point the same way that you can use spells at any point. And I will move a cultist from any one location to any other location where I have 1 or fewer cultists. I only have 1 there. So I'm going to take 1 from here and move it over there. That works. So then the ceremony's ability, I get a gate card. And then my dark gift is I get to look at any of the spells, and I know what this one is because I just placed it. And I'm going to cast that at the end of my turn. And I'll explain what it is at the end of my turn, but I'm going to leave that face up as a reminder that I am looking to cast that. So I get to prep that for free because of my dark gift. Then I have control at the location because of my silver key. I get to sacrifice 2 of my cultists and get a point.
Ooh.
This is a close game. Now, that'll be at the end of my turn, so I will carry on. Can I prep anything? Okay, there's only 1 I can prep, so I might as well. Because again, whether the spell is useful or not, if you have room in your prep spells area, it can become a symbol that you could use to prep further spells. So I've got 2 blue that I'm going to prep, and there are 2 blue at that location. So I'll prep that, which means these are gone. I draw back up to 3, and then I will trigger this spell. So, enlighten the faithful. At the end of your turn, you may move up to 3 of your cultists from any one location to other locations. These 3 are coming over to other worlds. See what I can do.
Yeah, that's a little ominous. I just, I can't get critical mass over there at all. Huh.
So there are multiple ways to score points. This is the main one, though, because you can get a lot in one shot here. There are spells that can let you get a point or 2 if you meet certain conditions, but this is the meat of the game trying to get here, which is why it is so difficult to get here. It's either spend 2 cards or use a gate card.
Well, I don't like it one bit, but
no, sir.
I am going to fight fire with fire.
Okay.
Such as it is.
So she's trying. She's going to try and stop me, or at least slow me down. So
yeah,
she's going to move here, even though she's only got 1 right now. She's going to move here to block me. So I'm going to have to go somewhere else next turn. Now she won't be able to keep blocking me indefinitely because her next turn she will need to go somewhere else. But it gives her a bit more time to try and do other things, either get some elder signs or something, or move some of my cultists around, or curse me again.
Yes. Actually, why the hell not?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, good a time as any to cast the old witch's curse. Choose a cult. That cult becomes cursed.
Okay.
All right.
I need to find some ways to curse Susan.
So, but before he can even worry about being cursed, I have a full house of investigators in my lodge, and there will be hell to pay for that, but in a little bit.
So that is 5 investigators.
Yes.
So there will be a raid unless she can do something about those before the end of her turn.
Do I even roll to get temporary control when you have so many dudes?
Yeah. You can always get temporary control.
Okay, but I do not. So now I'm going to roll 2 whole dice, which is really sad.
This wasn't about that, though, was it?
No, not so much.
No.
Anything that comes out of this will be gravy. And I get 1, which that's not.
It's 1 away from the win.
Terrible, but it gives me a curse.
Yes,
too.
it does. So I don't know if you can see that. Yes, you can see that on the Everhead.
Okay.
So this is the first point where her summon track is meeting up with her elder sign track. So one's going clockwise, the other one's going counterclockwise. This is the first time they meet. I finally get to take a curse card. Yes, you do. All right, let's see. Okay.
And now
I'm going to...
You're going to what?
Hold on. No, I'm going to type this in so that they can see. So ignore my message here, if you can.
Okay.
But I'll do that at the end of my turn. Sure. I might as well finish my turn.
I cannot prep a spell.
We are both cursed now. Oh, yes. Right. This is on your turn.
This is still my turn.
You carry on.
I cannot prep a spell, but now I do have to face the music of a raid. But I guess the good thing about a raid at this point in time is I'm already cursed. So the elder signs are not going to damage me further. Kind of. So 5 dice. I have 2 tentacles. I have an elder star and 2 elder signs. So actually that does hurt quite a bit. I'm not going to lie. That gives me 3 elder signs, but I do lose all but 1 investigator.
Okay.
That was hurtful.
Okay. Now, curses. There's no limit to the number of curses that you can take. So we are both cursed. So Susan was saying that roll was somewhat irrelevant because she's already been cursed for the 2 tracks meeting, but you can still take curses through other methods.
Yes.
You could have 3, 4, 5 curses building up. And I would love to try and find ways to get you some more.
I bet you would.
Okay. So that's you?
That is me.
Okay. Let's see here. So I refresh my artifact. Where do I want to go? I am down to 1 cultist. That is bad news. I think that pretty much describes exactly where I want to go. I want to go to the Gathering, and there are 3 investigators there currently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a spell called Rack. I get to destroy an investigator from any one location or lodge. Now normally I'd want to destroy one from my lodge to prevent the potential of one more Elder Sign, or even potentially to prevent the trigger of a raid. But in this case, I'm going to preemptively prevent them from even coming over. So if I destroy that one before I move, then I don't have to worry about the 3 investigators. And to get there, I'm going to use 2 red cards. Move here, so only 2 investigators. I'll place a 3rd and my last cultist. I will roll for control. Ooh, and I get it. Kind of irrelevant. Control at that location lets you move all cultists to any locations you wish. All cultists at that location. However, there's only 1, and the base ability is you can move that 1. So that was a fun roll for no point whatsoever. So I will take 3 cultists, and I will move that 1 over here, trying to improve my odds to end this game before you get to the end of the track. I will then draw back up to 3, and that's my turn. So we've got a tight game. That's Elder Signs are getting close on your side. You only need 1 more point to win. I need 3 points to win, but I have that potential over here. What do you got up your sleeve?
My armies. My armies are up my sleeves. Okay. I'm going to play 2 blues.
Don't forget to remove the sacrificed cult members. Where were their sacrificed cult members?
From the ceremony, wasn't it? No, I don't know.
That was my last turn. I did do that to get a point, and I did remove them. Don't forget to remove the sacrificed cult members. Gregorius, can you let me know where it is you're looking? If we did miss something, let me know. It's possible that we did already take care of that. The 2 yellows were sacrificed. 2 yellows were sacrificed. Where were there 2 yellows sacrificed? These ones? Did you roll for these? No. Did you roll?
Yeah.
Yeah? You got 2 points?
No, I got 1.
You got 1 point.
I got 1.
And you had rolled 2 dice.
Yes.
That's what it was. Okay, thank you, Gregory. So that 1 should have been sacrificed.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're all caught up now.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So I'm going to play 2 blues.
Yep.
To move to the ceremony.
And I know YouTube, you are watching on YouTube. Yes, so on YouTube, you're also on a bit of a delay. YouTube, I think, is roughly 30 seconds behind. So sorry for not getting to you right away. Sometimes you're going to see it, and then there's going to be a slight pause between. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for the reminder.
All right, so there's that. Rolling for temporary control.
Okay. Not quite.
Which I do not have. So I'm going to activate my dark gift at this point in time.
Square dance, everybody.
Square dance, yes. I only have
square dance and burn. Oh, yes. Oh, but you don't have. Yeah. If you had the 2 and you had control, you could burn the 2 to actually get the point. Oh, and that's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, she's only got the 1 cultist and not have control. So you can only do that if you have control. That's a good point. Square dancing for the win. That would be nice.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
All right, so where are you going? How many do you have?
I have 3.
You've got 3 cultists.
Yes.
Okay.
So I am going to roll only for other worlds.
Okay. And you can see the effect that her dark gift has. I only have cultists here and 1 there, and the rest are in the abyss. That's giving her more spread on the board, which ultimately is also going to give her control more often. So that is a nice way to get cultists onto the board. But you need to have them in your lodge to be able to do it.
Yes.
So for other worlds, you got it.
All right. And frankly, this is kind of end game, so I'm I'm pulling everything I've got.
Yeah, you're hoping for a weak roll on my part. I still need 3, so if I don't get it, then that could potentially be the win sitting there for Susan as well.
Okay, so and now I move because of my dark gift, I get to roll an investigator from there to any other location. That's kind of moot because there's only 1 little dude. I will move her to the streets of Arkham.
Okay. And any spell prepping going on? You got
yes.
red, red, white?
Yes.
Red, red, white. Okay, that's exactly what you have.
Which actually I shall cast immediately.
Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this.
The spell I'm casting is called Shadow Walk. At the end of your turn, you may sacrifice 1 cultist and become cursed to immediately take another turn.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
The tension. Oh my God.
Which means, even if she does not get she's got a great chance of getting the point. But even if she doesn't get the point, she's blocked that location, and I cannot get there to roll those dice. Oh, and you had the exact combination you needed.
Exact
Unbelievable. Okay, so let's make sure we're doing this in order. That's going to be at the end of your turn.
Yes.
So
it's
doesn't
cast,
trigger quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you prep the spell, so
I
I'll
prep
remove
the spell.
those.
Yes. And I'm going to.
So you draw back up first. Yeah. Unbelievable.
And also take a gate card because
Yep.
I was at the ceremony.
Yeah.
And now I shall cast Shadow Walk.
Yep. So what are you doing? What's the penalty?
I'm sacrificing a cultist.
That's it, eh?
And becoming cursed.
And becoming cursed.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're talking, right?
Okay. Let's see here.
I don't like the look on his face, man.
Okay, go ahead. Take your other turn.
I don't like this one bit. Conveniently, I have
Conveniently, you do.
a portal card in hand.
Yeah. Gate card.
A gate card.
Yeah.
So I shall travel there. What's
Unbelievable.
what is happening?
Good timing.
I'm going to take a cultist and an investigator and place them thusly. I'm pretty much shaking.
I'm gonna stop you right
Jesus,
there
no.
and realize there's nothing I can do. So you go ahead. That's the kind of mental game you can be playing with this. Okay, go on. So each die basically is a 50-50 chance, and she's getting to roll 3 dice to get 1 point.
All right, 3 dice.
You can try for control first, or did you? No, you
No, I haven't. And I do have control.
Which, frankly, is actually kind of irrelevant
Moot.
because if you get a Cthulhu, you win the game. So.
All right.
But there are curse cards that, spoiler, I don't have it. But there are curse cards that, as soon as the cult hits 9, they actually go back on the track, which means you don't win that turn. So that could still become relevant because you do have curse cards.
Right.
Not in this case, but it could be relevant. Okay, here you go. There it is.
There it
Only
is.
one, and it's a Cthulhu, so that's a great way to end it.
Oh.
And if the cursed cult gets 9, no. But that was for the win. Well done. Good job. That was tense. Oh, I
That was
had it
so
there.
tense.
I had it there. And you had the exact cards you needed to cast that
Yes,
spell to get that extra
yes.
turn. So that was definitely worth being cursed for that. All right, we'll switch over here. So there you go. There's Fate of the Elder Gods. I'm going to look for, just because I did mention it.
Exactly, Tim. Third way to win, giving your opponents a heart attack.
Exactly.
Or
Win
yourself.
Win by default, yeah. So the curses that I did have here were actually the exact same trigger, and it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. When the Curse Cult has 2 or more spells in their reserve, it's 2 different effects, so they both would have gone off if you did have.
Oh, geez.
So your Dark Pact haunts you. Discard all readied spells and gain an Elder Sign for each spell discarded. That would be punishing when you're starting to build up spells. And as you recite the incantation, your voice falters and the magic fails. Discard all spells in your reserve or gain 2 Elder Signs.
Oh, boy.
So the one I was mentioning, let's see here. When the Cursed Cult reaches 9 on their summon track, so if this was one of the curses here, your Elder God is displeased with your recent offering. Retreat your summon track by 1 and sacrifice all cultists at the ceremony. So there was still a way that would not have been a win even with getting those symbols. And you do not go past 9. So I've seen this question show up on BGG as well. Let's say she only needed the 1 point and she scored 3. She only stops at 9. Then the curse would trigger and she would go back to 8. It still doesn't matter if she had more than she needed. She would stop at 9 and then go back, and she doesn't get to carry those points over to go back up again.
If Mike had made it to the other worlds, his curse may have triggered, because his trigger was when he advanced on the summon track. So that was in my back pocket.
And what would the effect have been on that?
The factions of Arkham marshal their resources to ensure your failure. Roll 4 dice and gain an Elder Sign for each Elder Sign and Elder Star.
Okay, so I would have been taking some Elder Signs there.
Yeah, you would have been cursed.
But the game may have been...
may have been a moot point.
That might have actually cursed me again, though, depending on where I stop, because I take Elder Signs, they overlap. I take my first curse for the curse of the Elder Sign. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. There is one card that I said I would bring up.
Oh, Cthulhu Christmas?
Yes. There was one card that I said I would bring up if it did not come up in the game, because this is one, here we go, that people have had issues with on BGG. I looked this up to confirm it, and I like what the creators called it. So it's called The Stars Are Right. Now, you might not be able to read all the text, but you can see there's 4 different options listed here. So the text on the card reads, assign each cult, including yours, one of the following. There's a couple ways to read that. When I first read that, I wondered, does that mean I choose 1 and it affects all cults? That is not the case. You're assigning each cult a different one, and you can only use 1 each time. The way they describe this is Cthulhu Christmas, which that has stuck since I read that. So there are a couple here that are nice, because you can lose an Elder Sign. You can gain 2 cultists from the Abyss, but then it's gain 2 investigators and become cursed. So those 4 options would be distributed among the players at the table. An odd type of Christmas. All right, so there you go. What do you think of this one?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of fun playing it with you.
It's and at any player count.
Yes.
With the 2 fate pieces, it does lock the board down just that little bit more that you need, so it's not too open with only 2 players. But we've played it at 2, we've played it at 4, and it's fun at all counts. The board seemed to fill up with investigators quicker. Now, obviously, it's still every turn 1 more investigator goes on the board, but you're only playing every 4th turn if you're playing with 4 players. So in that respect, it fills up much quicker by the time you actually get to play, right? And I just love the fact that you get to play as cultists instead of playing as investigators. So, yeah. So this was all in the base game. Now I've got the box for the expansion showing here, but I didn't want to add that because the game is still new. So if anybody does have just the base game, that's what we played with here. The expansion brings, just so you can see what the options are here, there are 8 Elder Gods in the base set. The expansion brings 4 more Elder Gods that you can use. And it brings these monster cards that have different monsters on the front. And these are the monsters that you can bring into play. And they all have different effects that can try and mess with the other cult groups. It can mess with their tracks. It can mess with... it's just more messing with other people, right? That's what this game is all about. And just to show... Can you grab the...
The Wendigo?
Yeah. One of the cultists... Or sorry, one of the Elder Gods. Can you grab the Lodge as well, please? Has an ability called Wendigo. So this is Ithaca. There's the full art on the back of the Lodge. And Ithaqua's ability is called Wendigo, and he gets these Winter Squall tokens. So it's got his face on the front. They all look the same on the front. However, they have different abilities or triggers on the back. So what he does is when he does his dark gift, so this is another one of the dark gifts, he gets to randomly draw 3 of these tokens, and then you assign them to locations. So some of them will be no effects. This one is gain 2 elder signs. Some mess around with investigators at various locations. But what you do is you're placing these face down on locations. You know what they are, but nobody else does. So now, again, messing with people's minds, right? They're going to start to hesitate to move into those locations. And not only does it have that effect, but once you've done that, you can remove, you can destroy an investigator or a cultist from each of those locations. So you can just start taking people's cultists off of the board when you do that, which, you know, we played against somebody playing that, and it was hard to keep up because you keep trying to put your cultists onto the board, and he just kept Winter Squall, removing stuff off of the board again. And you know what the effects are, but nobody else does. So part of the key to that is remembering what those effects are. You might be better off just remembering this is good, this is bad. You might not need to know the exact effect because it also affects you. If you move there, you take the effect. So you want to make sure you're not blocking locations that you want to go to anytime soon.
Although it's a fabulous deterrent. The time when I played Ithaca, it turned out that I was the one who was setting off my own squalls more often than not, simply because my opponent it was intimidating to him to go and trigger those. So I ended up wandering into my own mess. But it was area control. It was successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was too hesitant to move in. I was too scared of the unknown. I didn't know how bad of an effect it could be. And it could be no effect. She could be putting down 2 no effects and just letting them sit there until she wants to move there. And then she can go there with no effect. Now, they don't sit there forever. If nobody triggers them and you trigger your dark gift again, then any remaining ones come off the board, shuffle them all, take 3 more, do it again. So if there is a place that you have locked down and want to go to but don't want to take the punishment for doing so, then you can just go to the ceremony, trigger your dark gift to remove it, and now you've opened it up again. So it has nice control of the board. But as I was saying, each ability, each dark gift is basically a game-breaking rule. So you want to try and use those to the best effect possible. All right, so I think that's about it. Fate of the Elder Gods, love it, love the theme, love playing as cultists, love bringing forth the Elder Gods, and Halloween tomorrow, quite thematic.
Yes.
To tease next week's, Mandy will be back next week. So next Monday, we've got something a little special. We're going to be doing, I have a prototype for Artana's latest game, Speakeasy Blues, which is on Kickstarter right now. So we've got a sneak peek at that, and I'm going to be teaching how to play that. I've loved everything that Artana has put out, and I'm backing this one as well. So I was backer number 6 on this one. Backer number 1 for Tesla versus Edison, and backer number 6 for this one. So that'll be next week's. And I think that is about it. I would like to thank Susan for being the the disembodied voice last week when I did Hostage Negotiator, and for joining me at the table this week. That was fun. But yeah, aside from that, I think that's it. So thank you to everybody in chat. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you again next week, and you'll probably be back in chat next week as well.
Probably. You'll
All right.
see me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.